Welcome to the Drum Shuffle, a podcast offering insights, perspectives, and conversations for drummers. I'm your host, Jamie Eads. Hey, how's it going out there, everybody? Welcome to the Drum Shuffle, episode 36. Jamie Eads joining you as always. Thanks so much for tuning in. We certainly do appreciate it. We have a great episode for you today. One of my personal favorites, the great Brad Morgan from Drive-By Truckers, will be joining us here in just a second to get everybody caught up on all the goings-on in DBT land. So please stay tuned. The best-kept secret for drummers is finally out. Los Cabos Drumsticks may look like the sticks you grew up with, but these are not your father's drumsticks. Los Cabos Drumsticks is Canada's #1 drumstick brand, and they are coming to a retailer near you. With operations in over 28 countries worldwide, thousands of drummers have already discovered the Los Cabos difference. Using FSC certified wood from Canada and the US, Los Cabos make the finest quality drumsticks, percussion tools, and accessories on the market. The best news, Los Cabos Drumsticks offers you a ton of choice. They have 22 individual drumstick models and 14 percussion tools, many of which are available in 3 different wood types: maple, white hickory, and red hickory. Red hickory comes from the center or heart of the hickory tree and has been independently proven to be both stronger and more elastic than white hickory without adding a lot of weight. While most drumstick manufacturers have shunned red hickory, Los Cabos Drumsticks has embraced it, becoming the only established stick brand in the world to offer a full line of red hickory drumsticks. To learn more about Los Cabos Drumsticks, visit them online at loscabosdrumsticks.com. Follow them on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and don't forget to ask for Los Cabos Drumsticks at your favorite retailer. Dare to be different. Join the Red Hickory Revolution with Los Cabos Drumsticks. All right, guys and girls, as I mentioned in the intro, going to be joined by the great Brad Morgan of Drive-By Truckers fame. Brad and I had the good fortune to play on a festival show together a couple of years back, and he was just such a gracious guy. We had such a great conversation that day, and when I started this show, I thought to myself, I really need to get Brad on the show, but the Drive-By Truckers just tour constantly. These guys are always on the road, so it took a little bit of time, but we finally got Brad on here. He's going to talk a little bit about their current recording project that they're doing down at Sam Phillips recording in Memphis. Just a great conversation. I hope you'll enjoy it. Please help me welcome Brad Morgan to the Drum Shuffle. Hey, good afternoon, Brad. How's it going today?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Good. Hey, thanks so much for taking time to come on the Drum Shuffle. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I'm just happy somebody wants to interview me. I don't usually get interviews.
Well, being in a band with Patterson Hood and Mike Cooley, I'm assuming they get the lion's share of the of the press. But the drummers need some love too. So we're glad to have you on here. I've been trying to do this for a little bit of time. But Brad, what we typically do is we start at the beginning. I know you've said this a billion times before, but tell our audience how you got into music and became a drummer.
Well, I guess when I was a little, toddler age and stuff, I loved drums because it was like the easiest and natural thing to do. There wasn't a lot of music in my house. We had records and stuff, but my family was not really, they didn't play instruments or anything like that, so I was the only one. But my parents, they saw how much I loved doing it, and it really kept me busy. They didn't have to worry about me. They knew they could hear me. I'm playing drums in my room for hours. They didn't have to worry about I was somewhere in the neighborhood or something or getting in any trouble. But when 6th grade, I started band class, and there was 50 drummers, and it was ridiculous to go into class. And I was the worst one. I was horrible. And slowly through the year of sixth grade, like about 2 to 5 drummers would quit every week. So it got down to about 10 drummers. And then seventh grade, I was still loving drums so much that my parents, they surprised me on my birthday with a CB 700 kit. Yeah. And I loved that kit, you know. And then so I would just play all the time. I have 2 sisters, and it drove them insane. We got in lots of fights, you know, but I'd come home from school, and that's all I'd do is just play drums. You know, whatever was on the radio, whatever tapes I had, or I would just play anything. And so I kept doing that. And then finally, when I was like 15, one of my sister was like 4 years older than me, and one of her high school friends came over, and you know, it was like, you know, we were starting a band, and she's like, "Oh, my brother plays drums." I'm 15 years old, and I'm small, you know, I'm a little bitty fella. But he came over the house, he heard me play, and I didn't know he was doing that. And so he's like, "Hey, you want to join the band?" I was like, "Sure." And so I just played with him, and all those guys were like 4 to 6 years older than me. So, you know, they were buying beer and all this. So I was kind of introduced to all that very young. But, you know, I put it in its place. It didn't affect me. And so that band, we just practiced all the time. We had 3 shows in 4 years, and we practiced maybe, you know, 10 to 12 hours, 5 days a week.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was, I even had appendicitis once, when I was 18, and we practiced for like 6 hours, and I just couldn't move to my right anymore. I just stayed, you know, on the hi-hat and snare, and I didn't know what was going on with me. And so then I was trying to drive home, and I couldn't make it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to go to the hospital for this. But you know, once I just love playing. I love playing with musicians. I especially love playing with songwriters. That's why I love Patterson and Cooley so much, because they just, you know, they're always writing so many songs. But then after that, I kind of left that band, started in this kind of heavy metal band in the early 90s. We weren't very popular, but we played a lot. And then about 22, I got fed up with the music scene that I was living in, and so I moved to Atlanta. And so I auditioned for probably like 30 bands, and all of them really sucked. It was just a horrible time for Atlanta, you know, to be auditioning for bands, I guess. It was just not too much fun. But I finally found some guys that I liked playing with. So I did that for a while, and then it was just, nothing was going on. And then I auditioned for a band in Athens, Georgia, which at the time, Athens was like, you know, home of REM and B-52s, and you're just like, man, that's very intimidating. But I auditioned. I got the gig, but then the drummer didn't want to leave that was in the band. So a year goes by, and so I'm at home in Greenville, South Carolina, working for my parents, and just like miserable. Then I get the call, like, "Oh, the drummer left. Like, can you come tomorrow?" You know, and I just moved immediately, found a place, a little room to rent here, and got a job working at Domino's Pizza, and just became involved in the Athens music scene. Played in like 5 bands at one point. Played at this little club called Hi-Hat, which Patterson Hood was the sound man for, and he was also friends with, he had a band with the guys that I played with and hung out with all the time. This is before the Truckers, and Patterson just moved to town. And so one day I was playing at the Hi-Hat Club, and he came up to me after the show. He's like, "Look, you know, my drummer, you know, he's in a couple bands and everything," which I'm like real good friends with his drummer anyway. He's like, "You know, so he can't make some shows. Do you mind subbing, you know, like coming, you know," because Patterson, he's still driven, but he was just super driven then. And I could see that. And I was like, yes, anytime you want me to play, I will be there. So that went on for about a year. I think that was like 98. The band was already about 2 years old. And then the drummer couldn't make a show. He didn't know about the show. And I got a call from a friend's house, because back then you didn't have cell phones or anything, so they had to find you on landlines. Patterson called me, like, "Look, we got a show in Atlanta today," and it's like, "Can you meet us there?" You know, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll pack my drums up. I'll be there in like 2 hours." So we did the show. Then after that, he was like, "Why don't you just be our drummer since you're always available?" And so I got in the van, and we like left for 3 months. And, you know, I never really, the only times I went out of town on tour, it was horrible. I mean, almost killed and West Virginia. Charleston, West Virginia one time. It was like, and I went with another band one time, and we almost got killed at a gas station from some drunk redneck that was beating up his girlfriend. And then he started hitting our van with a half of a pool cue, pool stick. And then when I went out with the truckers, though, it was a lot easier. There's still crazy things that happen, but you had these guys that, we were all in it together. But then, we're just always on the road. I'd come home, I'd work my job. Luckily, my boss was like, yeah, anytime you need to leave, I work construction, so it was pretty relaxed. And so we left.
Yeah.
We just stayed on tour for months. So really, the last time I worked a job, that wasn't playing music, was 9/11 in 2001, because we had the rock opera was being re-released on the 12th, so we had to be in New York the next day, and all this was going on in New York. So it was a pretty weird time.
Well, I mean, and you guys have pretty much been on tour since that time. I mean, you guys are on the road all the time. Now, my indoctrination to the truckers was, of course, Southern rock opera. The first two records that had come out, I guess you weren't on the first two records that
Matt Lane was on both those records.
Right. But of all things, I was sitting in a waiting room someplace. I can't even remember where. And I was reading Maxim magazine, and they had done a review of Southern rock opera. And they were like, you wouldn't think Maxim magazine would be in touch with that kind of record, quite honestly.
Really.
But they were like, run out and grab this record. And, it told the story, they made the comparison of the Lynyrd Skynyrd undertone, and of course, I grew up playing in Southern rock bands. So I was like, well, I got to go check this out. So I picked it up literally probably a week or two after 9/11. I remember grabbing the record and putting it on and went, holy crap, this is what I've been waiting for. You know what I mean? It was just, it was so different than anything else at that time. And your guys' arc just, exploded from that point. So, I say all that to get to a decent question. And that is, when it was re-released, you recorded the record, it's re-released, things started happening. Was all that just a blur to you, or did you know, okay, now my drumming is on the radio, I'm starting to get attention, or was it just keeping up day to day?
It's pretty much keeping up day to day, not really looking back, just kind of keep your eye out going forward. I just, I've never really, I'm not there's master drummers, there's educators, there's people that really know drums, and I'm not that kind of guy. I respect, love it, love watching it. I mean, it's like porn. It's just incredible watching what these tricks these guys can do. So I was just more, when playing truckers then, it was just a 3-piece drum kit, whatever would fit in the van or trailer. And whatever cymbals or whatever I could find at pawn shops and stuff, because on a 2-month tour, you're going to go through a cymbal, you're going to break something. And especially as loud as we were. We were so loud, and just keeping it simple seemed easier. Even to this day, I just did a month-long tour with Tedeschi Trucks where we were in the middle of that tour. I started off with like a 5-piece set, and by the end of it, I just stripped it down to a 3-piece. I just got tired of tuning. It was annoying me. So I just go back to 3-piece. It's just easier this way.
Well, and that's one of the things that I find so endearing about you. A couple years back, you guys were doing a festival here locally, and my band was on the bill with you guys, and we were talking that morning. You were setting up your own kit, tuning your own kit. You don't have a drum tech out on the road with you.
No, I have an alternate personality that I use. I call him Ted. He's my drum tech, and he goes in. I've actually fooled a couple of the local crews. You know how they hire local guys to do all the heavy stuff and help you set up on stage and stuff. And I don't really talk. I'm listening to everybody on the stage. I want to make sure that my crew guys are getting along with their crew guys, and I don't want any arguments because it just makes everything bad. There's really no reason for that. But I just love setting up my drums because it just always feels like the first day I got a drum set, setting your drums up. Or if you move them somewhere, you like setting them up. Tearing them down, I hate tearing down a drum set. And so I don't do that part. But, I'm setting up for one of these shows and, and then as soon as I get done, I walk off the stage, and then some of the local guys are asking my crews, like, so the drum tech's just gone? Like, he's not going to do anything else? And then they told him, they were like, yeah, he's a drummer's twin brother, and, he just does what he wants. So,
that's fantastic.
Yeah. So by the end of the night, when they're tearing down the drums, and they're like, where's the drum tech? Why ain't he tearing down these drums? Because that's usually the last thing they leave on stage while they're packing everything up. And they were like, oh, yeah, the drum tech won't come out here. He's done for the day. And they were all like, man, that must be a sweet gig. So,
that's fantastic. But I mean, I just thought it was really cool. Certainly you could take somebody out with you these days to do all that for you. And I just, and you and I just kind of stood backstage and talked about drums. It was just so cool. Here I am standing next to the great Brad Morgan talking drums, on a festival gig.
Right. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was awesome. I think that your situation, and I want to quote this correctly, but the great, kind of documentary that you guys put out a few years back called The Secret to a Happy Ending, you said in there, you did kind of like a little brush lick on a snare drum, and you said, that's the closest thing to a drum solo you're going to get out of me.
And still to this day, it's the most I've ever. Yeah.
Well, but being in a band with guys like Patterson and Cooley, who are just prolific songwriters, and they complement each other so well, but they have their own unique voices, you kind of get to be two different drummers in that band, but you're always serving the song. Talk a little bit about the writing process. Do they come in with completed songs, or are they just ideas and say, okay, Brad, arrange this?
Yeah. Well, back in the day, it was more, Patterson writes all the time, so he's always got a song. Cooley, it takes him a little while, but his song, it's a bigger punch, like when he writes a song, he wrote a song. So there was not, with Cooley's songs, about 90% of them I'll start. So I got to really know the tempo and make sure that, I know what song we're playing, because we don't use a set list. So when a song comes up, it's usually a cue. Like Patterson plays about 90% of his songs, he'll start. So that's easy for me. He's setting it up. But with Cooley, I'm a lot of times starting his songs. And so he has hand signals that he gives us. And so I just got, a lot of the songs, I don't even know the names of them. I know the hand signal, but I don't even know the name. So.
Oh, that's funny. Well, so, I know you guys have been in the studio the past couple of weeks, just through following, Patterson's social media, like Instagram and stuff. And, he made the comment, we're finally doing a record in Memphis. So, and again, you don't have to give anything away. I'm not really looking for a scoop, but, he used the terms dark, moody. So tell us a little bit about the recording you've been doing here the last couple of weeks.
It's just a really sad jazz record.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. It's dark. It's definitely different than any Truckers record we've done. I don't ever remember us having such a good time in the studio. We got a lot of work done. I mean, we just, wake up, go in, see what we're going to do for the day, and get it done. And whatever time we got left over, we probably work from like noon to 10 o'clock at night. But the vibe of that studio, the Sam Phillips studio, was really cool. I like going into studios that have vibes, that just when you walk in, you just feel like, oh my God, so many people have played in this room. At that studio, the drum box where all these drummers play in. I usually set up in the middle of the floor. And so this time what we did is I set my normal setup in the middle of the floor, and then I set up a kind of like a kick and snare, hi-hat, crash cymbal in the drum room. And so when they would play a song that I haven't really heard, or we haven't played it yet, I would just let them play through it a little bit, and then I would try to figure out which drum set I wanted to put on. If it was a rocker, I'd get on the big kit. If it was like a Moody's 6/8 kind of song or something, and then I'd switch to the smaller kit. And I use these like whacker sticks kind of things.
Yeah, sure.
But I cut off about an inch off the tip with a hacksaw. And you play those things, they're really long.
Yeah.
It just it's not really that much fun. But if you cut some inches off of it, it becomes more like a stick, and you could really lay into the snare, or you can hit the crash cymbal and it really actually makes a sound instead of just a little ting sound. And it just, you can really, a dark crash, it sounds really cool.
Right.
The hi-hats, they makes them sound real meaty, but if it's a softer song, it still sounds cool. Almost like electronic in a way. But that was fun on this session. We were only there for 7 days, I guess, and we did 14 songs.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you guys were getting it done.
Yeah, but it was really quick. I mean, as far as the songs, I mean, they'll be working on something else from the last song that we just played, and then I would just pace the hallways, and I've got another song that we're about to do in my head. So for about an hour, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do different that I'll make sure I don't do something I've done on the past 12 albums, So I'm just kind of just trying to figure out, I've got playing the song in my head. It's just like, and then I'll finally go in there, but I don't like to just sit in there and play the song for 30 minutes or an hour, over and over. And we've never been like that anyway, but it's just like I go in and then I'm ready to play it. Like as soon as I sit down, I'm roll tape because I'm ready to play this song. And a lot of times it's, first, second take. I think 2 songs came off the demo that we did before we went into Memphis. But, it's like when a song is born, that's when I love playing to the song. Like for the recording, it's like, all right, I just gave birth to the drum part on this song.
Yeah, that's a great feeling.
In the past, it used to be just like, hey, we're on the road. So, sound check, we would work on the song, or not even that. We would just play it that night, for the first time, and just keep playing it on tour. And we come off tour, and then we record the record, and we let the fans, the crowd kind of see how this song's going. If it's a song that everybody's really loving, we're like, oh, this will be great on the record.
Yeah.
It's just always different. It's never really the same kind of, way of doing the albums or the songs or anything. But this one, man, it was really fun. I really got into it.
Well,
the great songs. I mean, they wrote some really great songs for this record.
And presumably it's going to be the same kind of mix between Patterson Hood songs and Mike Cooley songs, 50-50, 60-40 kind of thing.
Yeah, actually, and even Matt Patton, the bass player, Patterson wrote the song, and it was a high register for singing, and he was like, Matt, you want to, Matt's got the punk rock kind of voice, and it's like, you want to sing it? Matt went out of his car and listened to the song, came back and nailed it. Like, it was just such a cool rocker,
That's cool.
Matt, he owns a studio in Memphis, so he's always in the studio. So he's just, he's a pro. I don't know. It was a really good time.
Yeah, well, one of the photos that I saw coming out of those sessions, I'd say it was a fun time, and I have to ask you about this, but I saw a Drive-By Truckers group photo with Sir Mick Jagger standing in the studio with you guys.
Yeah.
Because
he's a huge fan. He's wanting to know if we want to tour with him or something. But,
well, yeah, I was just going to say, because I know when I'm in the studio recording, Mick Jagger stops by often, so.
Yeah. It's something you get used to. No, it wasn't. He showed up, they're doing a Sam Phillips movie, and I think he's the executive producer on it. And so he stopped in to him, and the writers and some of the producers came and checked out the studio. We didn't know when this was going on. We were in there tracking, or not even, they were like overdubbing something. And all of a sudden, all this happened. I was just eating lunch, sitting there. And And I look up, and it's Mick Jagger poking his head through the door going, "How you doing?" And, I mean, I've got like a greasy BLT in my hand. And I know he's not going to shake my hand or anything. But, you know, he's like, "Oh, I'll let you get back to eat," you know, and he takes off. And there's no, you know, it's like, what is going on here? Why is Mick Jagger here? And so, so that was like 15 minutes of being a little schoolgirl.
Well, yeah.
You know, you don't ever expect something. I mean, it's like if you were sitting at home and all of a sudden Mick Jagger pokes his head around the corner and it was too surreal.
I mean, I can only imagine, you know, I mean, did he hang out for any time at all, or was it a whirlwind?
No, he was a whirlwind. He was just walking around, checking out some stuff. I think they might have listened to a song that was recorded there or something many years ago, and then, you know, he was walking out, and Patterson, we were like, "Man, we got to get a picture with him, you know, it's just, we got to do this." And Patterson asked us, like, "You mind if we take a picture with you?" So
that's fantastic. I mean, I can just only imagine, you know, I mean, and I'm assuming that the session for the rest of the afternoon was probably pretty spirited.
Actually, yeah, well, I think we nailed like 3 songs after he left. We were just like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. Leave some mojo behind you there, Mick.
Yeah, he left a lot.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, you know, the last record, which was American Band, that came out back in late 2016, it was a little bit of a departure, and I think Patterson kind of put on his political hat for a lot of his writing there, and it really reflected the stuff that was going on here in the States at that time. Is the new record, is it a continuation of some of those themes, or is it going to be a little different?
It's not so blatant of a political song. You know, there's probably maybe 2 or 3 that are really political that I've noticed. You know, I'm not one or I'm more of the vibe of a song. That's what I like. And then I'll get to the lyrics. Sometimes the lyrics help when, you know, you slam door slams and you do a snare drum thing for a slam, you know, slamming a door or something, you know, stuff like that. But with this, listening to all these songs that we just did, it doesn't really seem like that much of a political record. It's just dark. It's more of just kind of back to the way that they used to write songs. It's, I don't know, it doesn't seem as political, but, you know, the political ones definitely send a message.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think, you know, the Truckers writing over the years, I mean, I own every record, you know, I mean, I'm an unabashed fan of the Truckers, and I don't mind saying that. And I'm a huge fan of Jason Isbell and his band. You know, I mean, I followed Jason after he left the Truckers, you know, and there's just something about the writing that speaks to guys from the South. You know, I mean, I don't know what it is, but, you know, just the writing that Patterson does, and Cooley for that matter, it just has this great Southern, you know, darkness is the right word, but it's kind of tongue in cheek and lighthearted at the same time. Like if you're from the South, you can understand where the dark undertone comes from, but we're all just kind of, you know, laughing at it at the same time, you know, saying, well, you know, he really nailed that, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So you've been in the band now, I want to say getting close to 19 years, 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
So in the 20 years that you've been out there, how much has changed, you know, with the crowd? I mean, obviously the crowds have gotten much bigger over the years, but do you see any, you know, monumental shift in what the Truckers are doing and the reception to the Truckers?
I mean, there was a backlash from the political thing, but, you know, we just didn't care. We still don't care, but you know, it's come back around where people kind of, you know, I think they're there mostly just for the show and chasing songs that we might play. You know, there's probably 200 songs, and, you know, we can't play you know, every night those songs, all of them, you know, so a lot of people just keep coming to hopefully we'll play, you know, Panties in Your Purse or something.
Right.
Yeah. The fans, though, they've been great. They've always stuck with us, and, you know, the fans that we do lose, the ones that you read, trolling, like stupid stuff, it's just, that's just somebody on the toilet that morning that thinks that everybody should hear what they think.
Yeah.
If that's the case, just once you write a book or an album about it. But I really hate social media. But I don't know, it's just, the world's really messed up. Everything's upside down, and it's hard to believe that some of the songs that Patterson wrote years ago are still relevant today, that people have not woken up to how bad the world can be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he and Cooley both. I mean, I go back to, Uncle Frank by Cooley. Mm-hmm. Some professor of Southern Studies basically said Mike Cooley took the entire, New Deal and the Tennessee Valley Authority and summarized it perfectly in a 3.5 minute song. Yeah. So, it's got to be pretty cool to hear things like that and to be a part of a band that is so relevant. And even the stuff that came out 18, 19 years ago still speaks and screams volumes today.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how that's still happening. Yeah. I mean, I love being in this band. This is when, I was one of the fans. Like, there's people out there in the front row. That used to be me for 2 years. I chased this band around. I knew Patterson. I was friends with Patterson. I was friends with people in the band, but it was more than that. It was the way that he wrote, the way that Cooley wrote, and the way they performed together. And it's just something I saw that I've never seen in another band that I've been around or in or anything. So it was refreshing to actually be a part of that and see that. Because, you're in a band and people have their own lives and their own agendas. But with this band, it's just always been a family. And everybody, we just love what we do. Everybody loves the songs. I love seeing people singing and just, even when somebody forgets a lyric, there's somebody on the front row that knows it.
Right.
So,
Well, in that family atmosphere, one of the things that I want to ask you about, all the guys in the band call you the Easy B, and I know that I don't want to put words in your mouth. That's why I'm asking, but you kind of take on the role as the band psychologist, right? I mean, you're the peacemaker, and keeping everybody on the same page. How did you get the nickname Easy B? And talk a little bit about your role as the band psychologist.
Well, Easy B came up because in Athens, when I was playing with, there was like 8 of us that played in several bands that we all had together. And one day we're getting drunk and high, and everybody's like, we got to come up with some rap names. It's like, mid-90s. And so everybody's coming up with rap names, and there was already another B in the group. So, they started calling me Easy B because I was so laid back,
Right.
But then it just kind of stuck once I got in the Truckers too, because then, I was, even on the road and stuff. If I wasn't drumming, I would probably gone into psychiatry, because I just find human nature fascinating and how people are. And the funny thing is I don't like people. I don't like crowds. I don't, I don't go out. I just rather be home with my family or be on the road with my band, my other family. But it's just too much for me to deal with. I'd rather just, I lost my train of thought.
No, it's all good, man. Well, one of the things, the one time that you and I did get to hang out for a little bit, one of the things that I noticed was in the hospitality area at the festival we played together, you guys did sit down and eat your meal that night as a group. Everybody was there, the crew included. It was a very family-oriented type of meal. And, you were very gracious. You came over and introduced yourself to my daughter, who was with me, on that festival. She's a big Truckers fan as well, so, but it was just I don't know. It's something different that I don't see with other bands as they're on the road. It's like everybody goes their own way, and I'll meet you on the stage at 8:45 or whatever, you know. So
right, yeah.
It's different for you guys, right?
Well, I mean, for 20 years we've been living on the road as either 4 to 5 people up to 10 people, and all those are big personalities. A lot of people and a lot of crew guys. They have big personalities. It's been very important to us, and me especially, because I take a very big interest, is the crew and the band. You know, we're all one big family. We're out there to do a job. It's just what we're here to do. We all should get along. We all hang out together. It's just, you know, yeah, we go out for family dinners. You know, we're all really good friends, and I like to keep it that way because it just makes everybody's life on the road easier. In 20 years, I have seen some messed up stuff from band members or crew members that just you can't work that way. It's not fun for anybody. It's like when you wake up in the morning on a bus and you're just like, what was going to happen today? You know, like,
yeah.
Or you're mad at somebody, you know, and you're just like, I can't stand this person. Why are they here? Kind of a thing. But now, I mean, past couple of years, we've kept it to where the crew and band, I mean, everybody's just having fun, just, you know, happy to be doing what they do and what they love doing.
Well, I mean, that's certainly a blessing as much as you guys are on the road. I mean, you guys are doing, you know, 200, 250 dates a year, right? I mean, am I close?
Yeah, pretty close. I mean, probably 200 shows, and then you got all the travel days. And
yeah. So, I mean, that's a lot of time away from home and away from your family. So, you know, I know how difficult that is. So if it's fun to be gone from your family, if you can have some fun, it makes it worthwhile, certainly.
Yeah. And then we got young kids, you know. So I think 15 might be the oldest kid in our group. So, you know, we got young families, and we're not really on the road that much. It seems like we are. I mean, we'll do like 3 weeks on and a couple weeks off, or we'll do weekend stuff. But lately, you know, the past couple of years, we've kind of slowed it down a little bit. Just because, you know, you got to be home. You know, there's first day of school, there's Halloween, there's, you know, stuff you want to do with your kids. And, you don't want to turn around and like, why didn't I do all this with my kids? We didn't, you know.
Right.
It's very balancing all that it can be difficult, but luckily it works out for us pretty good. Our families are very supportive too, because they love what we do, and they get to come out every once in a while, so that's fun too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, one of the things that we haven't touched on that I'm kind of curious about, who were some of your big influences growing up? You know, I can probably guess a few, but, you know, tell our crowd a little bit about what you listened to coming up as a young drummer.
Well, every Sunday I would listen to the Casey Kasem Top 40. That was my thing. I would get up in the morning and, you know, my family would let me play drums on Sunday. So I would just play, you know, Casey Kasem stuff and whatever. And I wasn't a big, like, I didn't buy records and stuff. I had records from my sister that, you know, she was done with. But I to this day, I still love 80s music. I love the drums. I can hear a snare drum on a song, and I can tell what decade it came from. But I kind of just grew up on all the 80s drummers. Especially the metal drummers before it got to the, you know, super fast metal drumming. It was, you know, more of the glam rock drumming, Scorpions or mostly Iron Maiden. Nico McBrain was like that was my jam. And to this day, I still, like, if I want to practice, I'll just put on a Iron Maiden record because, you know, there's fun parts to figure out, especially when I've been working on them since I was 15.
Yeah, for sure.
But and then later, especially once I joined the band, I really got into Roger Hawkins from the Muscle Shoals.
Yeah, of course.
Rhythm section, and how he recorded and how they did that every day. I mean, they would get up, go to work. I mean, it was a job to them. They'd go in for 8 hours a day recording songs, and they didn't know this song was going to be a #1 hit next week. You know, it was like. And then, you know, they turn around and they've got all these #1 hit songs, you know, so, and all these different artists. And just learning the history of all that. Steve Jordan, he's something else. I just love watching him play. I got to last year, I think it was the Americana Music Awards. He played drums. And so I just like snuck around to the back corner of the stage and like peered through the curtain just to watch him play. You know, it was just to be that close to him and just to see what he does. It was pretty inspiring.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Monster, yeah.
Just a monster.
And my kind of way. He didn't not flashy. He's not just constantly throwing lick after lick out. It's more of just he's playing to the song and, you know, putting the drums that should be down. Even though he's amazing player and he could, you know, pop off anything he wanted, but he chooses to, you know, to serve the song and sticks with that, keeps it kind of simple.
Yeah, his work with Keith Richards on the, you know, Amazing Wino stuff was just bananas.
Yeah.
You know, just great stuff. Well, so, you know, obviously the Truckers are, you know, you got a new record that's going to be coming out probably here in the next 2-3 months. You know, I'm guessing you didn't say that, but I'm guessing.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but I'm guessing you guys are pretty quick about getting things mixed and mastered and getting it out to the masses. And of course, you've got show dates, tour dates that are up on the website right now. But you know, what does the next 5 years hold for Brad Morgan? Are you all in with the Truckers?
Well, I'm hoping I'm still with the Truckers and I'm still playing drums.
Yeah.
If not, I'm not a really good dishwasher, and carpentry doesn't really appeal to me because it's a lot of hard work and hot.
Yeah.
No, you know, I don't know. 5 years from now, I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, some guys come on and say, well, you know, I've always wanted to, I don't know, you know, cruise the Thames River or, you know, whatever like that. I mean, I think you and I are of the same vintage. You know, I'm the same way. I'm certainly not doing it on the same level you are, but I just want to play, you know, and record as much as I can, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, the Truckers are, you know, when you think about the legacy, I know you said earlier, I don't really look back all that much. I'm always looking forward, but you know, your place in rock and roll history, I think, is a very unique one. Do you think about the legacy of the band in your playing at all? Or are you solely just, tomorrow's another gig, tomorrow's another session?
No, I look back. I mean, sometimes it's good to see, or you know, even preparing for this, I had to remember some of the stuff that I've done, and that was interesting. I don't know. I just I don't know.
Well, you know, I think, you know, for me, when I listen back to old records that I've done, you know, you can listen to it with like a critical ear and say, gosh, I wish I'd have played that so much better. And
well, Southern Rock Opera, I wish I had better cymbals. The cymbal sound on that is very weird. And that's the only thing I'd probably change in the studio.
Well, to this day, one of my favorite Trucker songs is "Women Without Whiskey," and I listen to it at least once a week. I love it. You know, I mean,
that's a great song.
It is, and the drum sound is just massive. So you got to look back on that one and go, "Wow, yeah, Bonham would be proud." You know, but.
He'd probably roll over in his grave doing a triplet roll or something.
Oh, no.
This guy can't play.
No, I don't think that's the case at all. But, you know, I mean, I think the cool thing about you guys is the fact that you've always stayed in touch with your fans and you didn't turn into something that you're not. You know what I mean? It's like,
oh yeah, definitely.
If I hear a brand new song that has never been played anywhere before, I can immediately go, oh, that's the Truckers. You know what I mean?
Right. We definitely have a certain sound, and I guess it's the sound is just us playing together. You know, that we're not very, you know, we play songs, you know, and there's no click track. There's no, like, you know, on stage or anything like that. It's just, you know, ever how we feel. is how I play all those songs. I never play the same. I'm always switching it up in some way. Well, a lot of times I just don't even remember what I might have played on that record 10 years ago.
Right.
If we haven't, played this song in a long time, Patterson or Cooley just pop up with a song that we haven't played in a long time, and I was like, maybe I've got a new way of doing this, and that keeps it kind of fresh. But I don't really spend a lot of time going back and listening to old records unless it's a song that I don't remember if it comes up that we might want to play this song or something. And so then I'll just YouTube it and find the song somewhere and learn it again.
Sure.
But in the recording, we do it so fast, and you play the song and then you're moving on to the next song. And unless you just, before a tour of a new record, I'll sit down and make sure I'm doing the same parts or something, or try to figure out what I might have done in the spur of the moment at that point.
Right.
Or the happy accident that you're trying to recreate.
Yeah.
That's you probably understand that.
Thousands of those on every recording I've ever done. It's like, well, how did I do that?
Right. Yeah. I just slipped up somewhere, and then this is a cool lick. I like this. All right.
Yeah. It's never planned. And I want to be respectful of your time. And as we wrap up, a couple of things that I do want to touch on. Do you have a favorite Drive-By Truckers record? If you said, this is the one record I want you to listen to and you'll understand the essence of my drumming, which one would it be?
Probably the Big To Do.
Okay.
I really like what I was doing on drums there, especially the Flying Lowendas. That one, there was a lot of buzz rolls. I was using 18-inch cymbals or hi-hats on that, and it was just that was a fun track to do.
Cool.
A lot of the sadder ones, like we've had some crew members die over the past couple of years, and Patterson's written songs, kind of about a couple of them, and when recording those songs, I get very emotional about it, and like Grand Canyon's on a couple records past, a good friend of ours, our merch guy, and guy around town that everybody loved. He suddenly died while we were doing our 3-night stand here in Athens, and so like the next week or second week, I think, we were in the studio doing demos, and the Grand Canyon was a song about our friend Craig. And you hear me like grunting and moaning and stuff like that, and during the song, and that's just an emotional response to my friend being dead and this song, being about him. And we did that track, and we go back, to record the record, sometime later, and I was like, I could do this song again, but that track that I did that day was, that was my keeper. That was, that was me pouring every emotion I had into the song, and I love that. I just hate that it's a lot of times it's sad.
Yeah.
But I love just like I love songs, and they could be as cheesy as possible, but if it's just something that strikes a chord with me, I can listen to them forever.
Yeah.
And guilty pleasure kind of stuff.
Sure. Well, I think we all have them too. Brad, one of our traditions here on the Drum Shuffle is we always ask our guests to share a good piece of advice. You've had just an awesome 20-year run with the Truckers. Share a piece of advice for other musicians, other drummers that you've picked up over the years.
Well, if you're a touring drummer, that seems to be the hardest thing, is being on the road every night. You're away from home. You don't, like, where am I going to poop? Where am I going to sleep? Kind of a thing. Have a sleeping bag with foam in it. That'll change your world. Another thing, make sure you don't go home with, a lot of times we would be like, blast from the stage, like, hey, anybody got a place for us to stay tonight? And have a couple people come up, yeah, you can stay with me. Just make sure these people like coked out of their mind, because then you're going to have one eye open all night, because they're just going to be either talking to you or just staring at you all night. And both those things have happened a lot. And another thing is play Tetris. If you're in a van or a trailer, play Tetris until you can't play it no more, because when you load that trailer or that van, you're going to get everything in there just where it's supposed to go.
Now, see, that is useful advice. Play Tetris because, you know.
Also, if you stay at somebody's house and they have a big dog, you're going to be licked and smelt forever because you're on the road and you've got 1,000 different smells on you. Or if there's a cat, I've had cats jump on my balls in the middle of the night. Just, you know, like you're sleeping on the floor, they jump off a table or something. Or you wake up in the morning, there's a dog licking your face.
Beware of the guest house pets, right?
Definitely. Yeah. They'll mess your morning up.
That is fantastic. Brad, man, thanks so much for coming on our show. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome here anytime. Guys, look for the new record. It'll be out here in the next couple to 3 months is our best guess at this point. But go see the Truckers on the road. They just put on a heck of a show. Brad, thank you so much, brother.
Well, I appreciate it, Jamie.
Yes, sir. And we'll talk to you real soon.
I appreciate it, sir.
All right, everybody, that's going to do it for episode 36 of the Drum Shuffle. Many thanks to Brad Morgan for taking time out of his time away from the road. He doesn't get a whole lot of it, but he did take some time to come on the show, and we will have him back sometime real soon. Again, just a great guy. Thank you so much for tuning in. We sincerely cannot do any of this without every single one of you listening. Many thanks to my sponsor, Los Cabos Drumsticks. Please keep your emails coming to us. We love hearing from you throughout the week. The Drum Shuffle Podcast at gmail.com is our email address. Of course, our web address is thedrumshuffle.com, and you can find more information on me over at jamieeads.com. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button on whatever platform you're using today to listen in. You're not going to want to miss any of our upcoming episodes. Next week, I'm going to be joined by the great John Aldridge. If you've ever seen one of those beautiful engraved Ludwig Black Beauty snare drums, chances are it passed through John's hands. He is also the drum tech for one of our former guests, Brian Hitt from REO Speedwagon. So we'll be joined by John next week. Wonderful conversation forthcoming, I'm sure. So until next time, may your heads stay strong and your sticks never break. Cheers.